Well, I'm honored and I'm pleased to be asked by Gray to make this presentation, overdue presentation for a guy that has met, as they said, all the criteria that are now set forth to qualify. When I was elected, I think I was number 3 on the deal. But Gray is the 4th member of the class of '67 to be nominated for this award, and which is a different form. We've heard about athletics and everything and the teamwork, and I played sports, and I think that's important and part of the image of the school. But what I think is equally important is the fact that the teamwork and the camaraderie of our classes as they go through here. Being a member of class of '67 has uniquely stood out all along, and I think even today does the same thing. We're still a team, and I think Gray embodies all the criteria as long as Tom, and first thing I'd like to do is would all the members of class 67 stand up? All the members of class of '67. Some of them don't hear real well. There's still a lot of us alive. But anyway, it is a honor. Gray asked me to keep it real. In fact, as I walked up here, he said, keep it short. And he said, when he first told me, I said, write down notes and things that you can think of. And I did everything I could, and that's all I could remember. Gray is a unique nominee in that Gray graduated. He's a native Houstonian, part of our society for a long time. His father was a real well-known newscaster for KPRC television. Gray graduated in '67, as I said, and immediately went to the United States Merchant Marine Academy for '67 through '69. I kind of wondered what he was going to do, maybe learn to swim, how long he could stay underwater. But he did get back, and in '74, he graduated from University of Houston with a BA, and as well as in '78 with a law degree from the University of Houston. He then applied, after he got his license to practice law, he then was employed by Fulbright and Jaworski up until, and I might say that something he didn't want me to get into and still doesn't, and winces what he did to work, when he worked his way, he actually worked his way through law school. And he worked in a job that really lets a person that's going to be in the law business get to know what it's all about and who he's working with and what. And he was a Houston police officer from '69 through '78, right? Did I read that? Even though I don't have any notes. He was '67, '78, and the reason I know he was on the job is because every time his partner would get sick, he'd come find me at my place of business and ask to see if I want to risk my life and ride with him. And that's a big process, because you got to go sign your life away. But the long and short of it is, I was so proud that here's a guy that I've known even then for a long time, working as an HPD officer, working to help his family support his going to law school, which is an expensive process. But after all this, and getting through law school and getting with Fulbright Jaworski, in 2000, April 25th, sharp, April 25th of 2006, George W. Bush gave him an appointment to the United States District Court or Federal Court judge back in '06. And to this very day, it's his honor, Gray Miller, Federal Court Judge, Senior, I might add. I don't think he likes that part of it, but, and he's also, like a lot of us, got a family. He's his beautiful wife, Joanne, I'm not allowed to say exactly, but over 50 years. He has one of his daughters, he has a son too, and one of his 3 granddaughters who are seated right here and doing this. I am privileged because back in, I guess it was 72, by the time that Father Alchidiak, I think, was the president of the school, came to us, came through me and asked if we could pull our class together to get a form, an official alumni association. So that's what I think the class of 67 embodies, is the teamwork and the effort to collectively pull together the whole class, all the members behind a goal and achieve. We've been top, we have been top in the fundraising year after year after year, and 67, at first I didn't think that was a big number, but now when you're looking at 2023, God dang, a lot of years have gone by. And in fact, it's been kind of embarrassing. A couple of these coaches have been up here, and they're 31 years behind me. And they weren't even born when I graduated. And but the fact that this school has such a cohesive family-style relationship, and that groups of people like the class of 67 have stayed so close together, the fact that we meet every month together as a class of those that can attend those on those months. But we had to send our leader off to go get his get some work done on heart need re-greased, and so once we got him back, we're getting ready to go back to our monthly meetings. With that, I want to introduce our honoree, His Most High His Honor, Gray Miller.
Well, I knew that asking Jimmy Stewart to introduce me was a risk. But he didn't keep it as short as I would have liked. But thank you, Jim. I really appreciate it. And Jim's right. I mean, the class of 67 is a special class. We've always thought that we were the best class that had ever graduated from Strake Jesuit. And tonight, I think, proves that. So I do want to say that when they first established this Ignatian Award, Jimmy was the third recipient, the first member of the class of '67 to get this award. The very first person who received the Ignatian Award was somebody that probably all of you know, and that was the old Crusader, the late Larry Mason. And who could have gotten the first award other than Larry Mason? He was quite a guy, and we all miss him. And so I want to start off by saying congratulations to the '72 cross-country team and the 2010 soccer team, and Andrew and Stephen. Congratulations and well done. And I really do envy your blazers. I don't think I get one with this award. I get a plaque, but I don't get a blazer. So, but next I have to say, Father Johnson, thank you very much. And with deep gratitude, I'm honored to receive this award, but I really don't think that I deserve it. I've always tried to live my life as we were taught early and often here at Strake Jesuit, but I can think of many of my fellow classmates who deserve this award much more than I do, and several of them are sitting at my table. So I'm so grateful that in 1963, my parents decided to take a chance on this little brand new school out on the prairie at the end of Bel Air Boulevard on a gravel road. Why did they do that? The answer is simple: the Jesuits. The Jesuit reputation for education was well known at the time, and my parents knew that a good education was the key to everything. At that time, in 1963, when I was an 8th grader, there were only a couple of permanent buildings out here. There was one classroom building, and this building, which was originally the gymnasium and was designed by the father of one of our classmates, Peter Bronier's father, designed this building, which is just an iconic building on the campus, and I'm so glad that it's been repurposed and turned into this magnificent Moran Dining Hall. But everything else out here was temporary buildings, shacks. Father Ballinger, who was one of the founding fathers, toured me and my father when we came out here around campus. Took about 5 minutes. And after that, my dad and I decided that Jesuit College Prep, as it was known at that time, was the best school for me. And I'm also grateful to all of the Jesuit priests, the scholastics, the lay teachers, and the staff who put up with all of our pranks as we went through school out here, which usually resulted in PH for all of us. But they all taught us by example what St. Ignatius meant by a man for others. They were stern, but they were fair, and they laid the foundation upon which this great school was built. Father Connelly was our founding president, and he is the one who conceived this school and made it a reality, and then Father Alchidiak rescued it and made it, and all the others who've come along after that, including Father Johnson here, have made this a wonderful school. The founding five, everybody talks about those founding five priests. Father Connelly, the president, Father Coles, Father Bubba Coles, who was our principal, Father Ballinger, Father Baker, and Father Weber. All of you have heard those names, and most of you never met those people, never met those priests. But those of us who graduated in the early years, we knew those priests. And they were an example to us, and their memory is still fresh. And we all owe them so much. And all they ever expected of us was that we become men for others. And as the school grew, so did the faculty, with other memorable teachers who had a lasting impact on all of us and on the history of the school. I'm going to mention just a few. I'm not going to be long, I promise. I'm not going to be long, but I would like to mention just a few that most of us remember from the early days of the school, at the risk of missing many. The four scholastics that we all remember: Mr. Miles, Mr. O'Shea, Mr. Payne, and Mr. Nere. Our founding principal, Father Bubba Coles, and Father Shrum, the prefect of discipline. And and Father Mulvihill, Father Baker, and many others. But the one that I remember most fondly is Father Bill Kidwell. He taught me chemistry in my junior year. And a lot of us did, I think. A lot of us came really close to flunking chemistry in junior year. And Father Kidwell was the moderator of the sodality here at the school. And none of us actually knew what the sodality was. But since Father Kidwell was teaching us chemistry, and we were all doing poorly in chemistry, and he was the moderator of the sodality, we all joined the sodality. And miraculously, we all passed chemistry. I don't think there was a connection there, but it certainly focused your mind. But Father Kidwell, after a few years after I graduated, would become very special to me and to Joanne because he performed our marriage ceremony and he baptized both of our children. And then in 2006, Father Kidwell flew from Miami, Florida, where he was a hospital chaplain, to Houston to give the invocation at my investiture as a United States District Judge. So you may wonder, how did somebody who, when they graduated here from Strake Jesuit, ended up at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, become a federal judge? I'm going to tell you just a brief part of the story. I've always followed the advice of that great philosopher, Yogi Berra. Now, those of you who are younger, I'm not talking about the cartoon character from Jellystone Park. I'm talking about the baseball player for the New York Yankees, Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra always said, in addition to a lot of other crazy things, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. So I've always applied that to my life. When I went to the Merchant Marine Academy, I did so because I thought, crazily enough, that I wanted to go to sea for a career as a ship's captain. But after a trip around the world on an American President Lines freighter during my second year at the Academy, I discovered that the U.S. Merchant Marine was in decline and more ships were being retired than were being added to the fleet, and so jobs were going to be hard to come by recent graduates from the Academy. So I left the Academy and I came back to Houston. I married my high school sweetheart, Joanne, and I joined the Houston Police Department because A, I needed a job, and B, at that time, the police department was paying tuition and books for anybody who joined the police department and wanted to finish college. So I took advantage of that, and I got my BA, as Jimmy said, at the University of Houston in history, and then I got a law degree from the University of Houston. When I graduated from law school, I was 29 years old. Joanne and I had two kids, Shannon, who was age 9 at the time, and Chris, age 7. And I faced another fork in the road. I didn't want to stay on the police department. I wanted to do something else. But I thought with my experience at the Merchant Marine Academy and the time that I had spent at sea that I could practice maritime law because Houston was a big port city and still is, and all of the major law firms in Houston had a maritime practice. So I thought, well, that's a good idea. The University of Houston at that time had one course in admiralty law, which I took and liked. So luckily, Fulbright and Jaworski was hiring at that time, and I ended up joining the Admiralty Department as a brand new associate who had no idea what lawyers did day to day. I had gone through law school, but since I was working full-time as a police officer, I had never worked in a law firm, never clerked for a lawyer or done any kind of legal work at all. So I showed up as a brand new neophyte, not knowing anything at all about what lawyers did. So I spent 29 years as a maritime lawyer with Fulbright and Jaworski and ultimately became head of the Admiralty Department at the law firm. But as the law firm began to focus on other areas and increase their hourly rates, unfortunately, our Admiralty practice kind of declined and ultimately went away. And so there I'm faced with another fork in the road. I do want to say, too, that one of my Admiralty lawyers from Fulbright and Jaworski is here tonight. Tom Lightsey, who actually went to the Merchant Marine Academy and graduated from the Academy and is still a maritime lawyer. Tom, thanks. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So as a result, I was interested in doing something different, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to stay at Fulbright anymore because I couldn't be a maritime lawyer. So at that point, United States District Judge here in Houston, Ewing Werlein, retired. And our senators put out a call for applications for people who wanted to be a United States District Judge. And so I applied along with many others, and after a long and extensive interview process and an FBI background check, the senators recommended me to President Bush for this position. And the one thing that set me apart from the other people who applied for this position, who were all extremely well qualified. In fact, I didn't think I had a chance, actually, to get this job because there were sitting state judges, other people who had been practicing law longer than I had, who had more political connections than I had. I really thought there was no chance in the world that I was going to get this job. But the thing that set me apart from all of those other candidates was that I had 9 years in law enforcement. And the senators both told me during my interview process that that was the one thing that set me apart from everybody else. Nobody else had that experience. Plus, you know, I had a lot of time as a maritime lawyer, which was mainly federal court. So that was an asset. So the loss of the maritime practice at Fulbright was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. So looking back, I can see that now all of my experiences, all of the experiences that I had were preparing me for a job that was never even on my radar until I was in my mid-50s. So sometimes you never know where you're headed until you get there. So when you come to a fork in the road, take it, because you never know. And every job that you get, excel at that job because you never know where that job is going to lead you. So in 1963, when President John F. Kennedy visited the divided city of Berlin, he gave an emotional speech in which he said, in part, 2,000 years ago, the proudest boast was, Quis Romanus Sum, I am a citizen of Rome. He then declared that in the world of freedom, the proudest boast was, Ich bin ein Berliner, I am a Berliner. Today, I can say that my proudest boast is that my classmates think that I am a man for others. And for that, I am eternally grateful. But what I am most grateful for is my wife of 54 years, Jim, going on 55 next year, Joanne, our two children, Shannon, who graduated from St. Agnes in 1987, right? And our son, Chris, who graduated from Straight Jesuit in 1990. And our three granddaughters, Elizabeth, who's at Ole Miss, Emmy, who is here tonight, along with her date from St. Thomas, Tyler. And Shannon's date is also a graduate of St. Thomas, so we want to welcome it to the Lion's Den. Thank you for coming. And of course, my classmates from the class of 67 who are all here. And I especially want to recognize Mike and Greg Garino, who are here tonight, because it was their dad, Judge Joe Garino, who was a state criminal district judge here in Harris County, when I was a police officer and I was thinking about going to law school, and I went to Judge Garino and I talked to him. And he was my mentor, and he was the one who encouraged me to go to law school. So I don't think I would be where I am today without the mentorship and the guidance of Judge Joe Garino. And he was a giant of the law, and we all miss him. And be sure and tell your mom we hope she does better. I know she's not feeling well right now. Thank you. But he influenced my life profoundly. So Joanne, all these years, has kept me grounded and humble, and everything that I've accomplished has been a joint effort. She's my best friend, my rock, and she nurtures my better angels and those of everybody around her. So thank you for everything. So in closing, let me say thank you once again for this honor, which, as I told Father Johnson, I don't deserve, but I am going to take it. But I'm going to accept this on behalf of all of the members of the class of 1967. So tonight, as we celebrate our shared history here at Straight Jesuit and toast the newest members of the Athletic Hall of Honor, let's remember that we are, all of us, fortunate sons. So let's be kind to each other and grateful for all the blessings in our life. And as we leave here tonight, let's all strive to be men and women for others. Thank you very much.